Welcome to InstantGMP. The staff at InstantGMP prepared the GMP compliance series of presentations to focus on good manufacturing practices and GMP compliance for FDA-regulated products. These are brought to you by our quality and manufacturing experts in the hope that it will help you avoid any GMP compliance issues in your shop. This presentation addresses training documentation. Training and documentation of training is an essential element of good manufacturing practices. The FDA expects all personnel who are in manufacturing and quality operations to be trained for their specific duties and tasks. The training may include general GMP requirements training, educational development, job-specific skills enhancement, leadership development, or SOP-specific training. In any event, all training must be documented. The documentation usually follows a standard operating procedure. The purpose of a training documentation SOP is to describe the type of records that will be stored as evidence of personnel training and staff development. The scope could apply to all personnel in a firm or be limited to those working in GMP-regulated operations like manufacturing and quality. Some position in the company needs to be made responsible to assure that the procedure is followed, it remains consistent with current practices, and is revised and updated as necessary. There are some general requirements of any training documentation procedure. All personnel performing an assigned GMP function in the facility will have a training file. Each training file will contain personnel curriculum, vitae, or a resume. CVs or resumes will be updated periodically. Each training file will contain training forms and other documentation to provide evidence of personnel qualifications for performing assigned functions and for continuing education documentation. The SOP itself can be fairly brief. It can have a general set of steps that are followed for each employee. An example process is a training file created when new employee arrives. The file initially includes the following documentation: a CV or resume, job-related training documentation, and career development training. As training is completed, training forms and other documentation is added to the file. An example of an electronic training form is shown. The form is used for describing the individual who will be trained. An example of an InstantGMP training record is shown. This record is used to record training on documents, equipment, batch production records, and for ad hoc training. It also records the results of training conducted through an integrated learning management system. An example of a complete training history is shown. It is a record of each time a training was completed as well as a list of training certificates. Training is one of the fundamental activities that any employee must undergo, especially when they are new to an organization. While there are lots of opportunities for on-the-job training, some formal training is necessary to assure the new employee is exposed to the values and processes of the organization. That will help them become acclimated to their new job and increase the rate at which they can become productive. Ongoing training assures that they will stay productive and enhance their skills. The FDA insists on training documentation because that is the only way they can determine if facility personnel know how to be compliant with GMP regulations and with company processes. This presentation is just one of the many videos and webinars available on CGMP compliance. You can access the rest at the GMP Certification Resource Center. Thank you and have a wonderful day.